Move on to this Fox News alert. Minutes from now, the president will announce his gun control proposals at the White House. We'll, of course, bring you there live as that happens. In the meantime, the state of New York just became the first state to approve a wide-ranging set of new gun control laws in the aftermath of the Sandy Hook Elementary School tragedy. Some of the toughest laws in the country now in the state of New York. The Democratic governor, Andrew Cuomo, signed the legislation into law minutes after the New York Assembly gave final approval to the bill. And it includes a few things, including some new restrictions on ammunition. New York now defines a large capacity magazine as any that holds more than 7 rounds. That's down from 10. So you can have 7 rounds in your magazine, but no more. Gun sellers are also required to do a background check before selling ammunition. And residents will be required to buy ammunition through a licensed dealer. Let's bring in now Erich Pratt, the Director of Communications for Gun Owners of America, and Lori Haas, the Virginia organizer of the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. Welcome to you both. It's a big news day today with the president making some of these proposals. And we look at New York as an example potentially of what could be to come nationwide. I would like to just bring us back to the reason why we're having this conversation today, which is to prevent another type of shooting like we saw in Newtown, Connecticut. And the big question is, will any of these proposals that we're hearing about prevent that from happening again? Lori, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. It's been proven that when states have strong and responsible gun laws, they save lives. Their death rate among their citizenry is much, much lower than those states that have weaker and more lax laws. These laws are aimed at preventing gun violence in our communities, the day-to-day gun violence as well as those tragic mass shootings, and we need these laws.
Erich, your thoughts?
We can go proposal by proposal there in New York. None of the things that they just enacted would have stopped Adam Lanza from killing a victim and then stealing those firearms and using them in the horrific crime. You're absolutely right. We all want to prevent this type of thing from happening again. Sadly, New York is not doing the one thing that really would help. That's what 85% of the American people support, is allowing armed teachers or principals to be able to protect themselves and the students from these wackos, these evil intended people. We can pass all the laws we want. We're not going to legislate away the evil in their hearts.
Erich, let me just pick up on one point. In your organization, one of your colleagues, Mike Hammond, one of the lawyers for your organization, had this to say to the Wall Street Journal today when he was asked to react to any of the ideas he's heard from Washington, D.C. when it comes to new gun control. He says, it's all bad. It all has to stop. Are you equally as rigid, or do you see room for improvement when it comes to gun laws in this country?
All of these proposals assume that there's a legitimate role in restricting the law-abiding rights, the God-given rights that Americans have to defend themselves, which are protected in the Second Amendment. None of these proposals would work to actually stop bad guys, again, like Lanza, from getting a gun, and yet we're not really dealing with the real issue is that, you know, nobody, I don't care how anti-gun you are, and I doubt even Lori would do this, put a sign in front of her home saying there are no guns in this home.
Is that a suggestion, though, Erich? Is that a suggestion, for example, that you should take those signs down? I mean, are you drawing an absolute line that there's nothing more to be done?
Well, that's what needs to be done. Congressman Steve Stockman has introduced a bill to repeal the gun-free school zones, to get rid of that school zone loophole where people can carry basically all over the country except at places of work like a school where they fear prosecution.
Let me ask Lori about that. Erich's calling that a loophole, Lori, where people know that they can come into a school ground and that they're not going to meet anyone that's armed. So the argument there is that we're leaving our children really open and defenseless. What do you think about that?
I disagree with the gentleman. Here's the thing. Americans do not want to live in an armed society. We do not want a gunman at every corner, every church, every movie theater, frankly, every school. We do not need this. We would like to live in a gun violence-free world, and arming more and more people is not the solution. Americans are with us on that. They want their children in a classroom with a teacher engaging in the reason they're there. Education. We should not ask our teachers to be armed. They have come out against this in a multitude of venues. So I find it just just almost ludicrous that the answer to gun violence is more guns. That is not the solution that the American people want. And we frankly, deserve to live in communities that are gun violence free.
Eric, quick final thought.
The polls just don't bear that out. Gallup showed last month that more Americans want armed teachers and principals than want gun restrictions. And even the chiefs of police that have been polled and surveyed on this, 79% of them think that people should be able to carry firearms concealed. So it's just not true to say that the American people don't want this. We live in a culture that's lived with the Second Amendment.
As a journalist, I can say a lot of those numbers certainly deserve a lot more context than what we can provide for them today. So
can I just mention one thing? The Gallup poll was proven to be, ineffective and categorically wrong on a number of areas in the fall elections. I'm not sure we want to rely on a Gallup poll. I think we need to rely on the feelings of the American people.
And we come back to where we started.
From
if
December,
I could, we come back to where we began, which is what will actually keep our children safe. And that's going to be a big question as we hear the president's proposals today. Eric and Lori, it's great to have you both with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.